You might not be aware that at least 9% of men and 11% of women have experienced some form of fertility problem. We'll meet two women who can help coming up on this episode of The Issues. Stay with us. I'm Sarah Bernard, and thanks for staying with us. According to the National Institute of Health, the effects of infertility increase in women in their 30s. However, infertility increases with age in both men and women. Many women experience less chance of conception after age 35, while the chances of conception decline more gradually for men. Welcome to The Issues. Our first guest has experienced infertility firsthand when she and her husband were told they could not conceive. I'm speaking with Nicole Bostrom Cogan, who is also the founder of Momentous Gift, which helps other women and families. Hello, Nicole, and welcome to The Issues. I'm so glad that you're here. So you have had quite a journey yourself. So tell us a little bit about your story, and then we're going to talk about Momentous Gift, which is your gift to women who have gone down the same path that you're on, right, or you were on. So Tell us about your story.
Well, thanks for having me. Our story, we were told by multiple doctors. We would spend thousands of dollars. People would say, oh yeah, come in. We'd give them thousands of dollars, and then we would be told, oh, sorry, we're not going to work with you. We can't work with you. There was always one story or another reasons why. And we had really given up hope, and we said, okay, we're going to go to one more doctor. We went through that. We did an IVF cycle. We had 2 viable embryos. Those didn't work. And then I went back in and I said, okay, I want to do it one more time. And they told me that I no longer qualified to be a patient and that they weren't going to help me any further.
And why was that?
Mostly because they said it was too risky. It was a weight issue. They just didn't feel like it was safe. And I'm like, well, I guess if you would have told me that originally, I would have made a different choice with the embryos that we had and maybe tried a surrogate or done something differently.
And this is, how much time had taken place during this part of your journey?
The fertility part was, I don't know, we did probably about 1.5 years or 2 years up until the point where we had embryos. Our original fertility doctor had concern that I had cancer and put me on some cancer medications, and so we went through that. And then we transitioned to another doctor, and then that doctor, basically said they weren't going to work with us. And then we came to this third doctor, and she said, okay, we'll work with you. Once we had the embryos and we had the miscarriage, it was within a few weeks that I said, okay, well, maybe I would try this again. And that was when they said we no longer qualified. So having the hope literally ripped away is really hard.
What was that like for you and your husband? I mean, together.
Yeah, it was challenging. You have this vision of what your life is going to look like, and then somebody tells you,
this hope, right?
Right. Somebody tells you multiple times that it's not going to work, and you just, like, Mother's Days were really painful, and there was a lot of times where, I would say to my mom, "Hey, Mom, I love you, but it's a hard day for me."
Yeah.
So we went through the fertility clinic. They had told us no. We had kind of given up. One of my friends had called and said, hey, I might know of a baby that may be up for adoption. Would you ever consider adoption? And I said yes. And so we had signed up for an adoption, and we actually, I was showing houses to what ended up being our surrogate sister. And I had gotten my first adoption referral while I was showing a house to her, because I'm in real estate. And through that, we ended up, the next day our surrogate called and said that she wanted to have a baby for us. And I was like, okay, well, we'll look into that path and see if that was a viable thing. And so then I had to find a fertility clinic, because that obviously was a struggle for us, who said that they would work with us. And I Googled and found one, and an amazing, amazing fertility clinic. I was very happy to work with them. Explained everything that had happened, and it was a very physician-based, patient-based business who cared more about their patients than about the numbers, I would say. And so I was able to go there. We were able to do the IVF treatment again, saying we were using a surrogate. And we got 4 viable embryos, and one of them happened to be our little girl. So we were able to fulfill our dream of becoming parents.
And I can't imagine all the emotions and the anguish, then the joy, everything.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you're living your lives, and so many couples experience the same thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I mean, and it's so silent. Nobody wants to talk about it. And that's where I feel like, you know, as I've shared my story publicly and had conversations with people, I was surprised at the number of men who have reached out to me and said, my wife and I have struggled with this. It's been really hard. Can you know, like, men deal with this as much as women. And so I found that to be very interesting. But nobody really talks about it. And there's no reason not to talk about it, in my opinion.
And you don't go into a relationship where you want children knowing that you have a fertility issue typically, right? So it was, everything was a surprise.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you kept hitting brick walls.
We kept hitting brick walls, but we also kept moving forward. You know, like, I mean, I remember literally asking the question, give me a sign that we should continue doing this. And I would call my friends and I would ask them the impossible question of, is having kids really worth it? And they're afraid to answer it on the one hand because they don't want to say, no, it's not worth it, because then they look like bad parents. And then they don't want to say yes because they know, you know, maybe we wanted kids and this is a hard thing. So, so those would be the things that,
But those are the questions you were asking yourself. Should we keep moving forward?
This is the thing. Should I keep moving forward? What should we do? And, you know, ultimately we found a path to make it work for us, which was amazing. And
a surrogate, which probably wasn't something ever in your mind.
Was not in my mind.
Yeah.
No, was not in my mind at all. And it was just a,
and what a gift that woman gave you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So all of this then, so your personal journey and then resulting in beautiful Kate, who is first grade now? Just started first grade? Okay.
Yep, just started first grade.
So it's been a great 6 years, I guess, with her at this point.
6 and a half, yep.
Yeah. So you wanted to give back to women and men who are going through the same struggles that you and your husband Tony went through.
Yep.
So talk about then Momentous Gift and how and why you started that.
Right. So I realized that when Kate was about 5 years old, I could see this ripple of change that she made in the people that she connected with. Tony's mom never would have been a grandmother. My brother wouldn't have been an uncle. You could just see this, you know, this connection, right? And I really wanted to take the opportunity to figure out a way to pay this forward. How do you ever pay back someone who gave birth to your child for you? I don't think I can. There's no words that I could say. There's nothing that I could give that would, you know, validate that. So I was writing one day and journaling, and I wrote down, it was just kind of free flowing, and I wrote down, help another woman become a mom. And I actually, like, it shocked me when I wrote it. And I was like, and then I added the words, every year for the rest of my life.
Wow. And so what did that mean for you at that moment?
I didn't know.
Okay.
I was like, how am I going to do that? Like, you know, that's obviously a very intimate thing. And so I'm like, how am I going to be able to help somebody do that? And so it took me about 9 months to think about it and really, you know, get the wheels turning. And then I was like, the hardest thing for couples going through this is the financial piece. Yeah. It adds a layer of stress. It's hard to come up with the money. It's not something you want to talk about. It's just all of those things. And so I was like, maybe if we can help fund the financial piece, that would solve some of that anguish.
The stress that these couples are going through. Okay, so you started then, this led you to?
Yeah, this led us to Momentous Gift. And Momentous Gift is Mom Meant to Us. So it's also big. So it's a big gift, and it's centered around mom. So we started the nonprofit, and we worked through, like, I just created I created all the stuff and created the website, and then
it's not easy starting an organization, a nonprofit.
Yes.
Lots of legal paperwork and that kind of thing.
Lots of legal
paperwork. You did
it
right.
We did it right, yes. But we wanted to make sure that we could provide an avenue for people to donate and be able to get the charitable deduction, because obviously that's a benefit to them, it's a benefit to us, and of course the couples. So we found a couple just kind of through communicating with other people, telling them, hey, this is what I think I'm going to do. This is what we're going to do. And somebody said, well, you're never going to believe this, but today in our meeting, one of my coworkers stood up and said that they wanted to try to have a baby via IVF and they needed to somehow raise this money. And it was literally the same day that I was demonstrating this website and showing it. And I was like, well, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is. And so we had 2 weeks to raise over $20,000, and we did it.
How did you do it?
So what we do is a couple will submit their application. Obviously not all applications can be approved. We've got limited funding. But what we ask is that the couple allow us to use their story somewhat publicly, not with last names or anything. But then we can let their family, friends and family, like if they're sharing it on social media, hey, you can help us out, kind of like a GoFundMe, but not. And then whatever the money that comes in, we can get a corporate sponsor to match. So that's been working pretty good. My company is the corporate sponsor for the first one and probably will be for many of them, because this is obviously a passion thing for us, so we're able to keep it moving forward. But we want to be able to help as many people as we can. Like the vision that I envisioned was being able to have many people, you know, be able to think the impossible can happen, because that's what it was for us. We were told definitely no, never going to happen. So
how many families have you helped at this point?
just one so far.
Okay.
So they were able to, we fully funded their IVF cycle. They have got 10 frozen embryos, so hopefully there's a baby or two in there.
Oh, that's amazing. And you'll be Grandma Nicole somehow, or godmother perhaps. So what's your goal with the organization?
The vision that I see is, you know, I would love to see like 25 years from now to be able to have everybody together and come to a park and, you know, have the families that we've helped create come together, and I can look at Kate and say, you were the catalyst to this.
So is there, when you see that vision, how many babies are you imagining?
As many as we can get.
1 a year, 2 a year?
I mean, a minimum of 1 a year is kind of what I'm shooting for. But really, there's so many people in need that it really just depends on how many people can we help, and can we align finances with, can we align the support with the people, and we're happy to do it.
So people can help by providing funds?
Right,
donating?
Yes, absolutely. We can accept donations. We can do that online at momentousgift.org. And then if you have anybody who you know who's needing help, they can also apply on the same website. So you can apply to become a grant recipient there as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing your story, for sharing Momentous Gift with us and with our viewers today. It's an amazing gift that you're giving back. So thank you so much. Stay with us as we speak with a professional next on this very topic when we come back.
So many reasons to love St. Louis, you can't pick just one.
What I love about St. Louis is the 79 unique neighborhoods and 108 beautiful city parks, including Forest Park, which is actually larger than Central Park in New York, and the gorgeous Tower Grove Park right here.
And there's always something new to experience, no matter the time of day or the season. So come and experience St. Louis.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, today's topic is on infertility. We've heard from a mother who experienced infertility and is now helping other women. And now we're going to hear from a doctor from STL Fertility. Joining us is Dr. Maureen Schulte, board certified in reproductive endocrinology and infertility and co-owner of STL Fertility. Welcome, Dr. Schulte. So glad you're here. We just heard Nicole Bostrom Cogan's story of her journey of infertility. So she would be a typical patient, somebody who you see every single day. This is what you do.
Absolutely.
And you hear all kinds of stories, I'm sure.
Yes, I do. And I love caring for couples. We were talking a little bit earlier about 1 in 8 couples experiences infertility, so it's much more common than we think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what Nicole was saying is people don't talk about it, so we don't realize how common it is.
Absolutely. And nowadays, I feel like it's getting a little more press, if you will, through social media. And so there's a lot of groups on social media that are coming together, which makes me happy because patients are really finding each other. So they feel like they have a support network.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So at what point would a woman or a man call your office to seek help?
Yes, so I usually recommend after 6 months of trying. However, it can be sooner than that. And so 6 months really comes from the ability to get pregnant is about 20% per month. So after 6 months, everybody should be pregnant, right? And this is obviously if you are in a relationship, man and woman, right? If you have regular menstrual cycles and you know that you don't have anything wrong with your fallopian tubes. So our workup for infertility really focuses on the 4 things you need, okay? So eggs, sperm, fallopian tubes, and a uterus. So if you would seek help sooner, if you knew that you had something wrong with one of those areas. However, if you're having regular menstrual cycles and you're having intercourse, I would say after 6 months, you should start thinking about calling for a workup, especially if you're over the age of 35. So I always tell my patients that the age-related fertility decline is real. It starts at age 32, it really goes down at age 37. So those people who are 35 and above, we like to fast track, okay? Because once those eggs are gone, we can't get them back. For patients less than 35, we will give up to 1 year, but the statistics don't change. So if you really want a big family and you're 28 and you've been trying for 6 months, it might be time to call and come in so we can make sure that everything looks okay.
Okay, so and you've had your practice privately owned, co-owned with your doctor partner for a couple of years.
Yes.
So how many patients are you seeing, and what is the average age of the women that are coming in?
That's a great question. So we see women of all ages, and couples of all ages, really. And I would say on average, probably maybe 30 to 38, I would say, around there. And so mostly when women are coming in, we're seeing them for an hour. Okay, so the nice thing about our practice is that we're a boutique, and so we'll see our patients for a full hour. We get their whole history, we really sit down, we explain everything. I pull up a picture of the female reproductive tract, I explain how people get pregnant in general, what I think is going on with the couple, and then next steps. And then, you know, Nicole mentioned too, finances is a big concern for patients. So at the end of our new patient visit, we have our financial team actually join the consult, and so they can address any insurance questions that they have and talk about cost.
Okay.
There's 2 reasons people drop out of fertility treatment, and it's cost and emotional burnout, because this is a very emotional process. And so we want to support our patients in both of those ways. So I think being, you know, very straightforward and open about cost up front, and then also providing a support network. So in our office, we have Andrea McLean, who's our patient experience manager, and she holds the patient hand throughout the whole journey, so they know what to expect. We also in our office don't have ultrasonographers, so myself, my physician partner, Dr. Dial, and then my nurse practitioner, Melanie, Miranda, we all do our own ultrasounds. So we're seeing our patients at every visit.
Yeah, so you really get to know them too and understand
Yes.
what's going on with them physically.
Yes.
So how often does the emotional side of the journey play into the infertility? Is that ever addressed?
So that's a great question. So they've done studies, and they find that you know, stress affects our bodies in all sorts of ways, but they can't find statistical significance from stress impacting fertility if your cycles are regular.
Okay.
Okay. So although I always recommend to seek counseling, okay, and to seek just a friend network or people that they feel comfortable with, and if patients aren't open to talking about it with people they know, that's when I recommend social media. I say make a fake account on social media and follow all of the people who are actually going through it with you. They share funny memes, you can feel not alone.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my patients will do that. And then our office. Our office is there. We have a 24-hour portal, so patients will email us in the middle of the night with portal questions, and we get back to them right away. And I think that you feel alone and you really have wanted this to happen a year ago or 3 months ago. And so having a center where you feel comfortable and that is on this journey with you is a really important part of care. So when Dr. Dial and I took over the practice 2 years ago, our motto is our family is here to help build yours. And our patients feel that when they walk through our doors.
That's awesome. So a couple who makes the decision to go into treatment for their
Yes.
infertility issues, what kind of time commitment are they looking at?
Yeah, so it depends on the treatment options. So some couples will come in and do their diagnostics, okay? So that was addressing the 4 things that I was discussing that we need to get pregnant, right? So if it's a male and female partner, we would do ovarian reserve screening, making sure they have eggs in their ovaries, and checking an AMH, which is an anti-Müllerian hormone, which gives us a good idea of how they'll respond to medication. We check their fallopian tubes with an HSG, their uterus with a saline ultrasound, and then we do a semen analysis on their male partner. And so all of that will be done within a week, right? Then we usually have a brief follow-up where we go through all of their tests and develop the best treatment plan. Some of our patients just can do a pill called Clomid or Letrozole and have timed intercourse at home, right? So those are for patients who have PCOS or irregular menstrual cycles. And then some of our patients are needing to do Clomid with IUI, where we actually put the sperm in a little catheter and then put that catheter inside the uterus. So I always call that giving a push in the right direction from every angle, right? And then some of our patients need to do IVF. IVF is the biggest time commitment.
Okay.
So that's usually about a 3-week commitment, where they're in and out of our office about 3 to 5 times over a 2-week period, and then they're taking medications at home for that other week.
And what percentage of couples do IVF?
That's a great question. It really depends on their diagnosis. So for patients who have tubal factor infertility, they will do IVF because their bridge to fertility, right, where sperm and egg meet in the fallopian tube is broken. So we have to get around it with IVF. And then a lot of patients are choosing to do IVF because of their age and their concern for chromosomal abnormality or aneuploidy in the embryos. And so those patients will also elect to do IVF. Additionally, if you have what's called a monogenic disease, so if you're a carrier for, let's say, cystic fibrosis, and your partner is also a carrier for cystic fibrosis, your baby will have a 25% chance of having cystic fibrosis. So we can do what's called carrier screening to make sure that if you both are carriers, we can then test the embryos to make sure they're not affected.
Okay.
Those patients will do IVF.
So what is the oldest patient that you can work with?
So that's a great question. So ASRM actually puts a cutoff at around age 52, 53 for embryo transfer. That's different than for IVF where we're using their eggs, okay? But that's actually to carry a embryo. And that's because the rate of maternal mortality increases, okay? So our saying is healthy mom, healthy baby. So all of my patients who are 45 or above, I do a preconception visit with a maternal fetal medicine doctor to make sure that we're addressing any concerns with their age and carrying a pregnancy before they go through.
Interesting. So Nicole talked about having a surrogate.
Yes.
So how common is that? And is that something that you also offer your patients as an option?
Absolutely. So third-party reproduction is very common. And so when patients who have had a hysterectomy, or so they don't have a uterus, right, and they can't carry their embryo. I've had many patients who have had that happen. So they'll get a gestational carrier. So a gestational carrier is how we at the clinic refer to people that are carrying an embryo. Traditional surrogacy is actually where the person uses their own egg and carries the pregnancy. So traditional surrogacy is less common, but the use of a gestational carrier is extremely common.
Really interesting. And so do you have a network of people that are
We
able
do.
to
So
do
we
that?
work with agencies. And so there's gestational carrier agencies that we will help our patients find. And then we work alongside the agencies to match patients with a carrier. And then we will have the carrier come to our office so we can do the required screenings and make sure that they're a good candidate before transferring the embryo.
Okay, amazing. So many things that you get into. I can't even imagine all the different
Yes.
options available.
It's
and it's great.
fabulous.
It's wonderful. So thinking about women, what tips might you give young women who want to be at their healthiest when they go into their family beginning stage of life? Are there any things that you would tell women medically?
Yes. So medically, because patients always ask this, what can I do to optimize? So anything that you can do to optimize your overall health is going to help your gametes. So gametes are eggs or sperm. So really living a healthy lifestyle, right, is going to make your gametes their healthiest. There are no special supplements that have been proven, okay, to keep us, young and have the eggs of a 23-year-old at 55. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
And so really just following the age-old diet of diet and exercise, right, and making sure you keep a healthy lifestyle is going to help you. And then when you do start trying to conceive, make sure you're watching your cycles. If they are regular, right, you're releasing an egg, and then you can try for a couple months and then come see us if you need help.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dr.
Of
Schulte,
course.
for sharing your wisdom and for building on Nicole's personal journey and telling us
Yes.
what you can do right here in the St. Louis community for all of our men and women.
Thank you for
who
having
are-
me.
Yeah, of course. We're so glad you're here. I'd also like to say thanks to each and every one of you who tune into the issues and who share your comments. And I just want to remind everyone that you too can join the discussion. Be sure to check us out online on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to download the free STL TV app. Be sure to tune into our next edition of The Issues, where we'll have another informative topic that you definitely don't want to miss.